So friends, let me introduce my wife, my dear wife, Rose Fausto.
Thank you, oops. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm so happy to see everyone here. It's like a coming out party for me. Thank you very much, Father Bert and Bill, for your very wonderful prayer. I'd like to thank the people who helped me with the book also. Dr. Hani Carandang. Where's Dr. Hani? A country staff psychologist who wrote the foreword. I would also like to thank the parents of successful men I interviewed whose stories are included in the book. Mrs. Elizabeth Gokongwei for the story of Lance Gokongwei. Mrs. Lillian Palermo Meloto for the story of Tony Meloto. Chan Hui M, the mother of Tony Tan Caktiong. Mr. Tony Tan Caktiong, our idol, is here, sir. When I super requested him to come, I told him that, sir, you should come because my children really want to meet their idol, because Jollibee is not just their favorite for the Yum Burgers and the Chicken Joy, but also JFC the stock. So thank you very much, sir, for coming. He's also with his wife, Grace. Thank you for coming. This is Pilar Sanchez, the mother of Bo Sanchez. Attorney Rufino and Mrs. Erlinda Tan, the parents of Nestor, Raul, and Lorenzo Tan. Are they here already? But Nestor is here with us. Nestor, please take a bow.
They're here.
Hi, Ma'am. Hello, Ma'am. Sure. You should see the albums of Tita Ellen. Talong-talo ako. Nestor Volume 1, Volume 2, Lianne and Jerry Tew, the parents of Chris Tew. And of course, the heartthrob himself, Chris Tew. Chris, I always tell my sons, when they give back report cards which are not really making me smile because of their other extracurricular activities, I always say, but Chris Tew was able to balance basketball and graduate as cum laude from the Ateneo. So there you go. Let's give her a big hand again. I would also like to thank, sorry about that, the parents of the boys admired by my sons. From Marty's list, Ivan Chen. Ivan?
Yeah.
With parents, Edwin and Sylvia. Sylvia's with us right now. And from Enrique's list, Jasper Tan. Is Jasper here already?
There.
There you go, Jasper. With parents, Joseph and Gemma Tanbuntiong. And from Anton's list, Rafa Antonio with parents Ram and Judy Antonio. Of course, I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my parents, Rufino and Josefa Pres, the Tino and Pepay Pres Love Team, which is turning 55 years next month. Yeah, his parents, this right? Parenting styles influence my own, the greatest. And of course, my siblings-in-law, their children. Thank you very much for helping out in this event. And everyone who's here, thank you all for coming. When people ask me, Rose, why did you write a book? Actually, my answer depends on how much time I have to answer the question. If there's very little time, I just say, oh, it's my midlife crisis project. But if the one who asks the question presses on and there's enough time, this is what I say. Well, all throughout my 2 decades of parenting, I've taken a lot of photos, made a lot of photo albums, recorded their milestones. Excuse me. Recorded their milestones, written about my experiences, about my parenting, both happy and sad. My gosh, even my yaya was required to do an hour-by-hour journaling of my babies when I went back after my maternity leave. I'll give you a sample. 7 a.m., drank 8 ounces of milk. 7:30 a.m., burp. 8 a.m., vitamins. 8:30, pinaarawan sa labas. 10 a.m., take a bath. By the way, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my Yaya Shera. Yaya Shera, care of Marty, my oldest, when he was a baby. Thank you, Ate. Going back to my story, Marvin also did his share of documenting our boys' lives. He did the audio and the video recording. It started when they were still in my womb, yung the heartbeat. And then, in all their deliveries, he videotaped it. Of course, you have to take it from a certain angle, nothing frontal. Otherwise, I don't think we would have had a second and a third son because of the trauma. So anyway, he video recorded their baby days, their first crawl, their first steps, their first day at school, their Christmas presentation, the reading of honors, graduation, sports competition, and their dance competition in different venues, including the Araneta Coliseum. You will see a sample of that later. And recently, when they participated as speakers in a financial literacy workshop for the youth. So more or less, you would see that our sons' lives are fairly documented. Maybe some of you did the same, Probably some to a lesser degree, some baka even more elaborate, like Tita Ellen's Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, And I think it's a good thing to document our children's growing up years because it's really true that they grow up so fast. Parang kailan lang I was a young mom with 3 young sons, with 3 little boys. Now I'm only a mom of 3 sons. Di na yan. And before I knew it, they were all grown up. Before I knew it, they were all interested in girls and not in need of mama's tutoring anymore and constant presence. Of course, I'm not complaining. And when I look at them, emo moment. When I look at them, I'm so pleased. I'm actually very happy and proud. And of course, they're not saints, but they're just wonderful creatures. And I thought maybe Marvin and I did something right. And so this, plus that thing that you feel when you're in your 40s, you try to think, what else can I do pa kaya? I mean, at this point in my life, what is God's will for me right now? I'd like to share with you the way a novelist, theologian, philosopher defines the will of God. This is Frederick Buckner. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He defines it as this: God's will for us is the intersection of our greatest passion and the world's greatest needs. Let me say that again. It's the intersection of our greatest passion and the world's greatest needs. So what's my passion? Definitely it's raising my boys. When I try to look back at the 2 decades of parenting, the common denominator that comes to my mind is it's actually fun. No? Of course, I've had my share of disappointments and drama moments, but really, the common sentiment is that it's fun. And probably I was having a lot of fun that I decided to say goodbye to a rather promising investment banking career in order to devote my undivided time and attention to their growing up years. Anyway, so I was not just doing this for them, because I'm really so in love with my boys. Of course, my first and greatest love is still Marvin, So, okay. Nawawala rin ako sa thought flow. So anyway, so I thought, maybe, and so what is that great need in the world that somehow intersects with my passion of raising my boys? And I think you will agree with me that we always there is always a need to raise our children well. And so I thought, maybe I have something to share. So, sige, let's start. Maybe I should write a book about raising boys. But at the start, I was very hesitant because, yun nga, as what Marty said, I didn't want to put undue pressure on them. But then, there's always this nagging feeling na, sige na. And then, of course, my ever-supportive honey, he said, sige na, honey, you just write the book, finish it. And if in the end, you decide you don't want to publish it, then we'll just print a few copies. We'll give copies to our sons, and then they will give to their children, and then they will give to their children's children. In that way, they will know their roots. So, sige, I went ahead with the writing of the book. And then I decided to interview the parents of successful men that we, Marvin, my sons, and I admire. And you know what? I experienced for myself that really things just fall into place when you're doing that thing that you're supposed to be doing. And I experienced the generosity of people to share. Because, you know, when I approached these successful men, they really didn't know me with no writing a book credentials whatsoever. I was just a mom who wanted to share stories with other parents in the hope of inspiring them to raise their sons to the best that they can. So there you go, and I was able to interview these famous people whom I mentioned a while ago. So this emboldened me. No more hesitations, just do it. So here we are right now at the launching of my book, my very first book, Raising Pinoy Boys, My Work of Love. Of course, the underlying reason also why I went ahead with this project is because I also have a dream. No matter whom we voted for during the last elections, I think all of us agree that there is a renewed optimism in the country today. Well, these days we wear shirts that prominently displays the map of the Philippines, and we now say, I am proud to be a Filipino more often. So, I really hope that this optimism will be sustained, and allow me to share my dream with you. Of course, Father already read it a while ago, and the way you read it is, parang hindi ko yata kayang talunin yun, Father, with the Araneo accent, and it sounded almost like a prayer. But anyway, let me share it with you once again. I dream that all Filipino parents will raise their children so well that in the future, we will have an abundance of talented, honest, and competent Filipino children who will grow up to be talented, honest, and competent Filipino adults who will always do the right thing, whether someone is looking or not. Their number will reach a critical mass that they will be the norm and not the exception. This will be our tipping point to finally becoming the great nation we are destined to be. I hope that this book will be my humble contribution to this dream. Thank you. And I'd like to also invite you, to those who haven't registered, to please register with www.raisingpinoyboys.com. You just give your email address to our web guy at the counter. And I envision this to become a site which will be a group of families forming a support system, sharing their stories, and in order to really raise our Pinoy boys very, very well. Again, thank you very, very much. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.